some kind of big news down in the States that NBCSN is shutting the doors.
This is huge. Like in Canada, if you're a Canadian, it probably doesn't mean a lot to you.
Nope.
But in the sports world, down in the States, like this is pretty big news.
Like this is the rights holder to the NHL contract in the States for the national broadcast. So, yeah. I mean, obviously they're competing against Fox Sports. They're competing against ESPN. They've got, obviously they don't hold a candle to those either one of those. And for whatever reason, they're just decide to cut their losses and that's it. So all of the NHL programming is going to be simulcast on the USA Network, I guess now. And then they're just going to start transitioning that. And then at the end of the year, when NBCSN stops, everything that was in terms of like NASCAR and NHL, those are all going to be shifted to the USA Network, apparently, which is kind of a weird thing to me to have it on USA Network, because USA Network is not necessarily just sports. Obviously, it's lots of stuff. It's like a cable news channel. But anyway, so that's what's happening.
Didn't they do the Olympics?
NBC, I don't think puts the Olympics on the sports channel. I think it puts it on their actual NBC channel. So
you're right.
The NBCSN is, but I mean, there's a lot of people that work for NBCSN, like Pierre Maguire and like all of those guys, like all of the broadcasters. Are they switching to? I assume they're switching to USA Network. Is it just
Does Doc still work for NBC?
Doc is retired, but like,
oh yeah, that's right.
What's the guy's name? That's we're gonna win the cup and bring it back to Winnipeg. What's his name? I can't. Come on, help me here.
Oh, geez,
Eddie Olczyk. Eddie Olczyk works for NBC.
Eddie Olczyk.
I mean, there's lots of people that work for NBC Sports Network, and I assume they're going to shift to the USA Network, but we don't know for sure, like what kind of mergers are going to happen here.
Jeremy Roenick.
Yeah.
We're used to.
So, according to the Wall Street Journal, this is a good move, apparently. It says they're putting, and Comcast is the one who owns NBC, so this is Comcast, the parent company that's making this decision.
Okay.
Basically, it says they're getting rid of an underperforming asset, which is the sports network, and boosting an already powerful one. Because I guess the USA Network does well, numbers-wise. Whatever they show on it. Like, I'm not really into the USA Network, but apparently it's doing fine. And adding more live sports to USA Network will apparently make it better, because that's, generally speaking, PVR-proof content that people will want to watch live, so the ads get seen live. But here's my question for you.
USA Network is.
I think USA Network used to cover like wrestling, like WWF and WWE, and like that's the only thing I remember from USA. But I think they have like drama shows and stuff on it too, if I'm not mistaken. But
yeah, I don't know anything about it really.
So here's my question: Is this a sign that they do not want the NHL contract anymore because maybe they're not making enough money off it, or maybe it's whatever reason they're just transitioning? They're going to focus more on the USA Network and the content that it does. Does this mean when the contract comes up for the NHL, NBC is no longer going to be fighting for it as hard as they would have been, which will leave only Fox and ESPN, which may in turn reduce the value of that contract? Because if NBC was in on it and then ESPN and Fox were bidding on it, and NBC was like, the former holder, and they wanted to keep paying more, they would have paid a lot more to hold on to it. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're not as interested anymore now with this getting rid of their network, which takes them kind of out of the picture a little bit, which leaves Fox and ESPN, which, when you have 3 people bidding on something, chances are it's going to be worth more than if you have 2 people bidding on something. So maybe the NHL is not going to get as much for their next TV deal
that's a good point.
If NBC stayed, whereas now it's just going to be maybe potentially Fox and ESPN.
Does CBS have a sports network?
I don't know, actually. I know CBS shows sports on the CBS station. But I don't know if there's actually I don't think there is.
Who does the NFL stuff?
NFL's done by everybody. Like, and they all pay a lot of money. I think ESPN's the main one. Fox definitely does NFL. NBC, I think, does some. I think ABC, I can't remember now. There's a lot. Almost every network is spending at least $1 billion a year on football somehow, because they all want a piece of that pie.
If it is down to ESPN and Fox, both have a previous relationship with the NHL. I mean, everyone remembers the Fox tracking puck from the late 90s or whenever that was.
And they could do it so much better now that they have a tracking chip in the puck.
They could. They really could. I hope they don't do it, but competition is good. But I am worried, like you said, you made a really good point. The contract would be valued likely less, which means the NHL gets less, which means less growth I guess, for things that the NHL wants to do financially. Like, I don't know, put teams in China for a couple of games. Obviously, that's different now with COVID, but you know.
And it's guaranteed income that raises the cap. Like, players get that, owners get that. Like, that's huge money. Like, they're banking on a big U.S. contract to come forward because right now the Canadian contract's actually worth quite a bit more than the American one. So I guarantee you they were hoping to at least get more than what the Canadians paid for it. But this would be like the equivalent of, it's not really the same, but let's just say, Rogers owns the NHL contract right now and TSN bid against them and they were like $2 billion less. So they weren't even in the same ballpark as them. This would be like Rogers saying, we're out. And now it's TSN versus CBC, which means the NHL is going to get less money because neither one of those two teams are going to pay as much as Rogers is. So that's my concern here is this move could actually affect the hockey world by affecting revenues and the caps and all that because they're not going to get as much as they would have.
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot about the cap. I'm glad you brought that up. That's going to affect the cap for sure.
Oh, 100%. But they might still be in on it. Maybe the USA Network goes all in and but I don't know. It just seems a weird fit to me.
Yeah, I agree.